G'day, Gary's very warm welcome to you. It's good to see you here tonight. The process of seeking a rezoning of a 50-acre parcel of land or 20 hectares we've acquired in Wood End is quite lengthy, and there are a number of defined steps that the college needs to walk through in the process of seeking rezoning. And central to that process are a series of reports that are required to be prepared that make an assessment of the site in light of the view we would like the land rezoned for school use. Now, the key ones that we have completed up here, I'll walk them through for you and articulate how they view the site and in essence what that means to the college. I might start with the agricultural assessment. Now, we've acquired 50 acres. That's part of what was formerly the Davies family farm, 400 acres of land in total there, a very long-standing parcel of land. Was worked for many years as a grazing parcel. The assessment of the site is that although we recognise that if we were to take 50 acres of that land and utilise that for school use and not for agricultural use, there is a recognised loss. But the benefits of locating a school there, economically for the area, socially, far outweigh any loss. The land itself, the soil is not of high value, it's not rich soil. It's not suitable for a number of purposes. It's not rich agricultural soil, but it is suitable for things like grazing, and that's fine. So the assessment of it, if you balance off the loss of a small parcel, which is no longer or could no longer be used for agricultural purposes, and replace that parcel for school use, the benefits associated with having a school there, according to the report, far outweigh that loss. The next report we have is Flora and Fauna. This is an important one because here we're making an assessment of indigenous plants and animals on the site. In essence, we have to date not identified any major issue there in regard to indigenous wildlife. We do know that in grasslands to the north and west of Melbourne there is an endangered species, a lizard called the striped legless lizard. And there are large patches of Wood End that are marked as areas recognised as habitat for that lizard. We've been undertaking a study on that site for about 3 months now, and will conclude in about 2 weeks. And the report to date is that they've not found any evidence of a striped legless lizard either on the 50-acre site or the land adjoining that. And that doesn't come as a surprise, because the experts tell us, although that it is marked as an area of habitat, it's quite unusual, in fact, to find a lizard in those areas. But nonetheless, we're waiting for the completion of that report, which will be finished on the 17th of December. While we're waiting, of course, as that lizard is dormant during winter, and it tends to become active as the weather warms, and of course they can't complete their study until they've provided sufficient time for these lizards to become active, if indeed they're on that site. But our feeling at this point is that in fact it's not there. If in fact a lizard is found, we will respect the requirements need to be met if the lizard is in fact there. We also have, in partnership with Woods Bagot, our architects in Melbourne, I'll talk a little bit more about them a little bit later. We're designing this site from the ground up as a site that reflects the best principles in environmental sustainability and education. This is critically important for the next point I'd like to articulate for you. We're very keen to have a world-class school on the site. And it's not uncommon now for schools to build infrastructure that reflect contemporary thinking in regard to environment and sustainability. But those buildings are often located on sites that were blueprinted or master planned a long time ago, when there wasn't really any recognition of respect for those sorts of principles. From the selection of the site, right through to the built environment, we're looking to reflect the very best principles going. We believe that when the school site is active, it'll be the leading or one of the leading schools in Australia in regard to environmental sustainability. So we're very sensitive to native grasses and native plants on that site. And the site has been draft master planned to respect those. So we've got pockets of native grass on that site, and we've developed the master plan to respect those sites so they won't in any way be compromised. We're looking to do further plantings on the site. We're looking to, obviously, with indigenous plants native to this part of Victoria, and we're using those as buffers around the boundary of the property and further plantings on the site itself. And that will be very sympathetic. So that in essence is perhaps a summation of the flora and fauna study to date. The next one is geology, and you'll be aware or may not be aware that in fact a small parcel of the land that we hold falls across part of Golf Hill. I think the term that we use up here is Golf Hill. And I should say right from the outset that the college has no intention of developing Golf Hill in any way. In fact, the way the site's been master planned is that no built environment will be within 200 metres of that hill. We won't change it. But in essence, the geology survey of the site tells us that what we're looking to do will not impact in any way on the site and those elements of that area that might be deemed to be important. The landscape report is also an important one. In essence, the view of the college is to build this particular learning environment in a way that is visually almost hidden. We're looking at one-level pavilions or learning spaces that sit lightly on the land. And we selected a site specifically for a number of reasons, but one of those was that we wanted to create a sense of seclusion for our students, to try to mirror as fully as we can some of the unique qualities of this beautiful site here. We have seclusion here, we have a sense of isolation, which helps build things like community here. We wanted to translate that down to the new site. So if you were to stand along the Avenue of Honour, or if you were to stand on land which borders the college property down there, in fact, there are low points where we're looking to build. So if you visually look across the site, you would be looking quite hard to identify the built environment when it's completed. So looking for that sort of sense of seclusion. Recommendations that have come through this particular report, which we've respected and acted on, is this concept of sustainability and development and the revegetation and tree planting with Indigenous plants native in this part of Victoria. Trying to build the biodiversity of the site is critical. And perhaps I should articulate a little that the site has been selected not only because there's an element of seclusion, but the hydrology of the site, in other words, the way in which water falls across the site, has been important. The character of the land, where it rises and falls, so we can put some sporting facilities on that site in areas that are relatively flat, but also there are areas of undulation which bring the site some character where we can locate our classrooms, areas that are quite beautiful. And we believe that when the site is developed, as I said earlier, we're not expecting any really negative visual elements to the site. It will be quite secluded. This is not going to be a school that looks like the things you see in Melbourne, large concrete buildings and masonry buildings at several levels. That's not what we're looking to build at all. And in fact, I'll invite you a little bit later when we have a moment to look at some of the architect sketches of some of the proposed buildings we may look to put on the site at this point. Single pavilions, quite low, natural earth materials being used, which will help them blend into the environment. The Aboriginal Heritage study effectively tells us that there is nothing on that site that would indicate that there's been any evidence of Aboriginal life there in the past. We have the traffic engineering report, which is near completed. In fact, I met with them late this afternoon in regard to their report. And in essence, they're looking at how vehicles can access this particular site. In short, what they're looking to do is to create an ability for buses and cars to turn from the Avenue of Honour left into Montgomery's Lane, and that's heading south, going north. And for those heading south, to be able to turn to Montgomery's Lane, they're coming from the Bendigo side, and also to allow cars to exit from that point. That'll mean some improvements to Montgomery's Lane and some improvements to that intersection. We're looking to access our school site through the Davies property, and we have a boundary or an entry point on the western boundary, which is marked on the master plan. Again, that's up on the boards up there, and we'll show you a visual of that shortly. And we're looking naturally to try and have the speed limit reduced through that area. It's currently 100k, that intersection. If you're familiar with the intersection, you'll know that there's housing on the eastern side of that intersection, and it would be logical, particularly if we have this site rezoned for school use and there's some buses going through, not a large number of buses, perhaps 10 to 12 buses a day, morning and afternoon going through, but perhaps the speed limit ought to be reduced in that area just to maximise safety for people. So that in essence is a summation of the report. This one is not quite completed at this point. We're expecting this to be completed very shortly, but at this point it's looking positive as a report for the college. So in essence, the reports to date, we don't have any report which in any way identifies any area of concern for that site for the anticipated use of school use. They see it actually as a very positive site, and they tend to speak strongly in favour of it.